Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, the Vols versus Syracuse this week. I've been telling you what I think. Let's go around the horn and see what folks on YouTube are saying, because if you've watched this channel, you know I'm a huge fan of YouTube, and I'm always interested in seeing what other people are saying about particular games and teams, and especially this opener with Tennessee versus Syracuse, two 10-win teams from last year. A lot has changed for both teams, especially at quarterback and on offense. And you know I'm going to check out Locked On. So let's see what Locked On Syracuse has to say, because obviously they cover Syracuse every day.
First of all, Fran Brown and this team believe they can win this game, and they will win this game. So they're not looking to just like play close, play an SEC team close, and get that moral victory, so to speak. They think they should win this game, even though they're a sizable underdog. What do they need to prove? For me, if I had to pick a winner, I'd probably just lean Tennessee, just based on the fact that it is a 14-point spread. They played in the playoff last year. They're in the SEC, et cetera, et cetera. But for Syracuse, I think it's just proving, or I don't even say proving, but just showing that they belong. They're in the ACC. The ACC obviously is a notch below, or a couple notches below the SEC and the Big Ten. The ACC is kind of, hovering in the 3-4 spot with the Big 12. And, ACC teams are going to want to, it's kind of like in basketball too. They're going to want to prove or show that they can win these non-conference games against, top teams from other conferences. Get in there, go to Atlanta, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There's going to be a lot of Syracuse fans there. I assume there'll be more Tennessee fans given their proximity to Knoxville versus Central New York, but just go play well and see what happens. I think Syracuse can win this game, and I know we're going to talk more about it. Tennessee has a new quarterback like Syracuse does. They lost a lot of pieces from last year, so did Syracuse. Tennessee will have a good defense again, but 14-point spread, I'm not a huge betting guy, but I'll take Syracuse in that one. But to get back to your original question, and I'll just end it with this, I think Syracuse just wants to kind of piggyback off last year. They finished 10-3, won a bowl game. They're number 20 in the final AP poll, and they've got a brutal schedule. Most people think they won't get to a bowl game or will go 6-6 and sneak into a bowl game, and they want to show right off the bat that they belong and that they're a legit team again this year.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said prove that they belong, because that's exactly what it is. Hey, Syracuse, this is your chance. Week 1 against Tennessee down in Atlanta, Georgia, noon kickoff. Prove that you are not only a good ACC team, but you are a good team across the nation. This is a Tennessee team that, look, they're good.
Sure.
And they're talented. But kind of like Syracuse, they also have a lot of new personnel.
All right, so that's interesting. Now, of course, they're going to think they have a good shot at this, and that's cool. I don't have any problem with that. They are an underdog by 2 touchdowns. And the prove that you belong, that seems to be the theme that I've seen from Syracuse pretty much everywhere, because they kind of showed up last year with Kyle McCord, and their offense was terrific. Their defense, it was very marginal. I think it was ranked 72nd in the country. Tennessee's was 6th. And you're going to see something very similar Saturday. Tennessee's defense is strong. Now, speaking of prove that you belong, here's why they think that way. If you look at their record over the last several years, see last year 10-3, the year before 6-7, year before that 7-6, 5-7. Here's one 1-10. Lord. And then 5-7. They did have a good year in 2018, and then 4-8, 4-8, 4-8. So they've had one good year outside of last year. So you can understand why proving that you belong would be a huge issue for Syracuse. They've got battered Syracuse syndrome, just like a lot of us had battered Vols syndrome from the Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt and that Dooley cat. But they also talked about their schedule. I don't know if you've seen Syracuse schedule. It is rough. It surprised the crap out of me. It's like they're an ACC team. Why they have such a tough schedule? Let me show you why. And it starts right here versus Tennessee. That's as rough as it gets right off the bat. Then they get a couple of games that won't be too much trouble, UConn and Colgate, like, most teams. They've got a few easies. And then they got to go to Clemson, that's difficult. So now in the first 4 games, you've played Tennessee and Clemson. Then you play Duke, that's not an easy, that's tough. SMU has turned into a real team, and you got to go there. Pittsburgh will whoop up on you. Georgia Tech's not easy. North Carolina, you got old Bill and Jordan over there waiting for you. Then you got to go to Miami, and then here's the one that blew me away. You got to go to Notre Dame. I mean, you look at this and you think, how does this happen? How did you get Tennessee, Notre Dame? I mean, I understand the Clemson thing. You're in the ACC, but that is a lot of really brutal teams. You've potentially got 3 top 10 teams in your schedule, and 2 of them are out of conference.
Oh, no.
So whether or not they're not going to go 10-3 again, I just don't see that happening. But, I could see them making a bowl game. Brand new quarterback and all of that. It's going to be difficult. They lost some players in the transfer portal too, so should be interesting. Now, this next YouTube channel is one I've been enjoying for a while now, and this is Ruffino and Joe. And let's see what they have to say about it. And one of these guys, LSU guy, another guy's a Notre Dame guy, but they also cover all of college sports.
Tennessee, Syracuse, the battle of literally for the orange. Who is the real orange? Who will stand up? Joe, when you look at Syracuse versus Tennessee, a lot of teams with a lot of changes. How do you see this one playing out this upcoming week?
Blake, this is quite the disappointing game to preview because I felt like before the spring portal opened and some of these departures happened for Syracuse, this could have been a fun game, but it still would have been a tall task for Syracuse to beat Tennessee. I think that this Tennessee defense can really set the tone early. And I think that we're forgetting with some of the turnover that Tennessee had and the headlines that came from Nico in that drama, we forget that this Tennessee squad brings back a lot of playing time and a lot of big name athletes. I know that Jermon McCoy, it sounds like, is not going to be available, but they're pretty well recruited in that room. They're very well recruited on their defensive line. I have high hopes for what Joshua Josephs does this season. I think that this is going to be a game, Blake, where we're reminded that this team has a dominant defense, and their success is going to be built off of that because they're dealing with a guy who has barely started in Stephen Jelly. He's got a completely new wide receiver room after most of the top guys dipped and went elsewhere. I think that this is going to be an intriguing game to watch, but Tennessee should win this thing pretty handedly.
One of the things they also talked about is the fact that Syracuse has 4 new offensive linemen, and these aren't 4- and 5-star guys. Tennessee's replacing a bunch on the offensive line, but again, these are all blue-chip guys. The number 1 offensive tackle in the country will be our right tackle. Of course, we've got a 5-star Lance Hurd on the left side. So you've got bookend 5 stars. Then they went out and they got a couple of big-time starters for the interior, and then they have a crap load of 4 stars just waiting in the wings. So I feel really good about the offensive line long-term. And since they're going up against Syracuse, which, they've got some good players on defense, but not great. So it should be a great first test for the offensive line. The defense is going to be brutal. I can go ahead and tell you they're already pre-ranked top 5. I'm not concerned about Tennessee's defense. Jermon McCoy is one question mark we've got. I don't think we'll see him for at least a few games, but I think they'll be okay in the secondary. The defensive line and the linebackers are going to be brutal. And I think that's where they're going to lean heavily, Tennessee will, and probably try to run the ball against Syracuse quite a bit, and then we're going to see what Joey can do. But this last YouTuber, this is SEC Unfiltered, and I think I remember this guy had a South Carolina channel to begin with, and then I think he moved to SEC Unfiltered, and this is a pretty good show.
I think Tennessee is just tired of the talking heads going out of their way to say they're overrated or this is the worst offseason for any team in the college football playoff when their schedule still is manageable and they could easily find their way back to the college football postseason picture. They could. I'm really actually excited to see what Tennessee is going to be in this matchup. I'm excited to see what Syracuse is going to be. But just for the fact of I am tired of talking about Tennessee on what they might be, I want to see what they actually are. I'm at that point where I just want to see what they are.
The quarterback play in this one's going to be fascinating. I mean, what do you get out of both guys? Joey Aguilar has been a focal point of conversation all offseason long. Some people love him. Some people doubt him. I've had my doubts on him. We know he's an exciting guy. He'll make the exciting play. But maybe has some issues with the turnovers. Does that follow him to Knoxville? Is he ready to elevate his game to this level and be the answer that, like you said, Nico Iamaleava, if we're being totally honest, was not? And then Steve Angeli on the Syracuse side. What does he give the Orange in replacing Kyle McCord? Thoughts on the quarterback showdown? Again, I feel like it really plays into some of the uncertainty of this football game.
Did you know that last season, Appalachian State ranked top 20 in passing yards per game? They were one of the more explosive offenses, and Joey Aguilar was the starting quarterback. Tennessee ranked 77th. So automatically, just in terms of the vertical passing offense that we want to see from Josh Heupel, you're getting a quarterback that fits that mold. I mean, last season, the Mountaineers, I think, averaged around 273 passing yards per game. Aguilar put the ball in harm's way at times, but he also wasn't afraid to sling it. This is a guy that comes with experience. You know, that's a major blessing for any team that is still trying to keep the pathway of going to the postseason, 9-3 year alive. Had 24 starts at App State, 41 games in college football. Newcomer of the year for the Sun Belt in 2023. 56 touchdowns, almost 7,000 passing yards. Like, that's a building block for you. Now, the turnovers were a big-time deal. I think he had double-digit interceptions last season, had, I think, 9 interceptions in 2023. So you got to cut down on the turnovers. But the thing is that, Chris, I think a lot of people out in Knoxville would take 1 interception if it ends up being because of 3 touchdowns. So,
that's the one thing everybody is talking about, and reasonably so, the interceptions. Now, if you've watched Josh Heupel's offense over the last 4 years, his offense is very conducive to eliminating turnovers. You just don't see it. If there would have been a turnover problem with that offense, you would have seen it from a Joe Milton, from a Nico, from a Hendon, from any of these quarterbacks, and you just didn't see it at all. Now, he did bring up a very interesting point, an experienced quarterback. If you remember the last time we brought in a very experienced quarterback, he was sitting on the bench. His name was Hendon Hooker. He turned out pretty good. What did he have, 60 touchdowns and like 6 or 7 interceptions, something crazy, over 2 years? So I'm not as concerned about the interceptions because of the offense. Also, he was behind a lot. They had a terrible defense at Appalachian State, and he was 2 touchdowns behind all the time and had to just sling it. The first year he was there, that was not the case. So should be very interesting to see how he does. He's not going, I don't think he's going to be completely overwhelmed by the situation the way a freshman or a sophomore would be. Nico had a lot of that last year. I think it just overwhelmed him, and he overthrew a lot of passes because he was too pumped up. Hopefully Joey, because of he's played a ton, even though it's not Power 4, you still got to perform. And he should be at least used to just being out there and playing a lot of important snaps. So anyway, I did want to give you sort of a go around on YouTube and see what people are thinking and what they're saying. Obviously, Tennessee being favored by 14. The talent level is not close. Tennessee is in the 55% blue chip ratio, meaning they have 4 and 5 stars that are 55% of their team. Syracuse is under 10%. So you're talking about a big gap. The only way I see Syracuse winning this game would be turnovers. That could help them a lot. Turnovers always change the complexion of a game. Or Joey just plays terrible. That would be my guess. I don't think Angeli is going to have any huge game or anything like that. He's not a running quarterback. He's not going to scare you with his legs. You know, he can take off and get 5 or 10 yards, but he's not going to bust out on you. And look, if they get on him, he's not going to make a miss. He's not some slick, quick quarterback like a Stetson Bennett. You know, that's one of the things about Georgia was always down on Stetson Bennett. I was like, he's quick as a cat. Wow. This guy's not that. So, should be a heck of a ball game. I know everybody's excited about it. Just wanted to give you a feel for what a lot of people out there are saying. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, boom, and boom. That button right there won't cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. And right over here's the most recent video YouTube. Thanks, you'll enjoy. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jack.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.